So what am I doing today? Today I am working on just double checking the arrangement, and I want to start tracking things because, as you've noticed, definitely a pain to be working with the analog instruments and incorporating the analog instruments into the workflow. It's more of a hassle. So I want to be able to take these out of the workflow at this point in time. So after I'm done with the arrangement, I have the parts, the analog parts that I like in the song. I want to track them out, basically, and turn them off. I'll save the MIDI performances, but I'm going to track them out as actual audio tracks. I'm going to be doing this in live right now. So the objective right now isn't to be mixing or anything. It's just to be recording them. And even though I'm planning on mixing this inside of a Pro Tools environment, I'm running it through a Pro Tools audio interface. But it is native, so there's going to be some latency involved. So once I track them, I also have to adjust for some of the latency. So I'm going to get busy doing that, and the first thing I'm going to do is fire up live. And actually, the first thing I'm going to do, so I have this thing called switch cameras. So when you're working with this analog gear, you definitely need to have some USB to MIDI interfaces. And what happened to my camera? There it is. And down here, so I'm going to put another MIDI interface in here so that I have two of them, but right now that's the Avid MIDI I/O, and it's got some software on the computer that allows me to make some adjustments with the inputs and outputs. And so that's it right there. And before I do anything, I want to make sure that I don't have all these inputs and outputs on. It's a strange thing I've noticed with this audio interface, and I think it might be because it's old. There are a lot of MIDI interfaces that are getting pretty old right now, over 15 years old, and that means that the lithium cell in there is probably not retaining its setup anymore. I need to go in there and change that. It should just be a pop-out battery, but I have to obviously get it out of my rack and do that. So right now I'm just going through the annoying process of turning all these outputs off so that I'm not getting any MIDI feedback loops, and only the DAW is sending the MIDI out to where I need it to go. And this is a situation you're going to have when you're working with a USB to MIDI interface, and depending on the software interface to access that interface. Just got to double check. It's another piece, another component. It's so much easier to work with virtual instruments, obviously. And then double check and make sure that my audio I/O is set up properly, and as you can see, the MIDI I/O is on and being seen today, which is fantastic. So I'll move that out of the way here. Actually, I guess I'll just leave it in the background, and let's fire up live. While live is booting up, make sure that my devices are on the proper patches. I think it was 35. Can check and see what set was last, and C was the version I was working on. That looks good. So there's the DW8000, and I can see right there, actually it was not 35, it was 32. Set my patch to 32 over there. My monologue was 13. And check my ESQ1. I mentioned this before. You can set these up so that everybody will load up a patch according to a sysx, just a patch change at the beginning of your sequences. I've had a few problems with patch changes in live, so I'm just been gotten into the habit of doing things manually and making notes of it to make sure that my sequence is set to sequence 4, which it is, and load my instrument that I was working with over here. Which was and create new instrument here for 2, yes. All right, I think that's everything. Let's see what I got here. Well, we have a lot of participants, but not everybody. Who are we missing here? I heard the ESQ1. So one thing is nice, if I want to find out who's playing as opposed to sitting there looking at all the meters, I can also just very quickly go in and arm the track and just say, hey, you know, switch my push to notes mode. So there's the ASR 10. Switch to the next one here, DW 8000. That's playing. ESQ1 MIDI channel 2. That's playing. ESQ1 MIDI channel. ESQ1 MIDI channel 1, that's playing. Monologue. I didn't hear the monologue. Monologue is not playing. Oh, that's right. I have a little tambourine that I added in. And that's the reason file, so I need to go find that. And of course, the Boss drum machine, I had already turned that into a virtual instrument by way of sampling. So let me hide live here and open up the drive. I'm looking for that Reason song file. There it is. So that's going to be give me that tambourine that I added last week. So there is the tambourine. And so the last thing I'm missing is the my little Korg monologue. And like, where is my Korg monologue? Oh, that's right. It's not plugged in. Well, the audio is plugged in so I can hear it. But I forgot to plug the USB port in because I had another drive hanging off my USB hub. So I need to hide live, right? I need to hide reason. I need to go to that drive and I need to eject the drive. Goodbye, drive. That was my working drive for my Glyph working drive that I'm doing some video editing on. It's SDD drive, and now I am going to plug in the USB cable for my monologue. I can double check to make sure that it's being seen here. And there it is right there. There is my Korg monologue. It is live. So I should be able to go back here to Ableton Live and arm the track. So I'll need to go in here and Ableton's not seeing it. I'll change it and then change it back to it again. And there it is. Yay! Now, let's try our chorus. Sometimes I notice this. I changed a couple USB cables around. It might just because of the age of the computer and operating system. But you can see push is still on here, but it's decided that it's not going to respond to anything. I can't change to session mode. So I'm going to pull the USB cable, try and get it to be re-seen here. There we go. right. Um, I am pretty happy with that for the most part in terms of being ready to start tracking. There is one thing I think I'd like to add. And I really like the way the chord monologue is just so bouncy, and it's really cuts through the mix wonderfully. But I'm wondering if I wouldn't like to get some more sub to it. And so one thing I've done before that works pretty well is I'll go over here and I'll grab my sub 37 and dial up some sort of sub bass sound. So I'm actually just exactly duplicating the sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and copy this entire track here. Let me get you back to the screen here. So the two things I'm kind of thinking I want to add is that sub and maybe just a couple more notes on the sampled instrument that I ended the session with last time. So right here, I've got the monologue here in green, and I'm going to duplicate this entire track. And I'm going to call this, rename it Moog instead. And so it's the same performance and everything else, but I want to send this out now to my Moog instrument. And this is one of those, it's the Moog Sub 37, so it has a USB to MIDI port, USB to USB port. So I just plug it in, and there it is. It's being recognized. And then I need to go over to my audio interface, my patch bay here, and plug it in. And I happen to have an input on 8, so I will plug that in. Grab a cable. Oh, there's my cable. So I've got cable here. And come in 8. So that's 8 there. Make sure that we are properly. I'm going to play it over here. Let me get set up here. Checking my input here. Make sure I have everything set correctly. Make sure my cable's plugged in, because I'm not hearing anything or seeing anything on the level at the moment. Definitely plugged in. So one thing you always do, in case these devices, something can happen sometimes. And so headphones. I always get some headphones and I'll plug it into the jack on the device just to make sure that it's on. And we're good. We got an output. why am I not hearing anything here? Plugging it into a different input just to make sure. Oh, yeah, we got it. So Y is 8, not giving me an input. There it is. Helpful when I switch from, so the channels 7 and 8 have high Z or low Z. So I can plug in a guitar in the front, or I can plug in the line input in the back, and I didn't have the line input switched. So that's on. And back over here. So Moog, and what's our audio is coming in from 8, and there it is. I just love the way that Moog sounds. So I'm just looking for a sub bass sound right now. And okay, that was a new one. Why did WebEx quit? Hello. WebEx just like straight up quit on me. Why did it do that? That was absolutely bizarre. There I am, I'm on. Now there's of course 2 of me now. Okay. Well, can you guys see and hear me at this point? Because it looks like, I'm not sure. Yeah, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, you can. Everything's good? Okay. Oh, good. The other ghost of me went away and I'm back. All right. That was... See, the Moog was just too powerful. It just basically blew out the entire WebEx connection, even though it wasn't even connected. So yeah, great. All right, we're back. Let me get back here to sub 37. I was looking for a sound. And I just want a bass sound, sub bass. I think there was something in bank 1 here. Bank 1. the Sub 37 is nice. You can sort these by sounds. Cursor. Go to my bass sounds category. Bass sounds. There we go. So, Bank 3 preset 4. I think that's what it was that I wanted. It's wonderfully deep and subby. Let's see what that sounds like with the Korg. So just the Moog by itself. So the first problem we've got with the Moog itself is that it's an octave too high. So what might be easiest, rather than going through, here, let me change the camera around here. I'm kind of thinking what would be easier than changing. I could go in and change each one of these clips, but I think what I'd rather do is just put something to transpose the entire clip down. So on the Moog, change the color here. And so MIDI effect. Sure we're on the right camera. MIDI effect, there we are. MIDI effect. So chord. I think we can use this -12. Pitch -12. Let's try that now. There we go. That was easy. So now I've just changed all those clips to an octave lower. And if I play it with the monologue, and that gets really low. That gets to the point where it's going sub, so sub that I'm not actually hearing it. Down in the low, what is that? That's a low C. But I definitely like the other parts. So let me hear what it sounds like with everything in. So you guys probably can't hear that on WebEx, but I really like that. It's really sub. I just mix it in underneath the monologue, and it's definitely adding a fullness to it. I tried it with the octave at -12, and I tried it with off. When it's off, we're getting kind of this chorusy sound, which is neat, but I definitely want that sub just to give the monologue some more balls, so to speak. So yeah, I'm going to keep that exactly the way it is. So that's done. We've got a Moog sub in here now, and now I'm just going to double check what I had written so far with the ASR10, and then I'll be ready to start tracking. So with the ASR10, I'd only written some parts here and added some delay on it, and it was just, I just wanted this dirty, grungy kind of sampley part to it. And I'm going to listen to it and see if there's some notes I want to add to the post-chorus and the verse, if there are any notes I want to add. Just some simple notes to double some of the other notes. It's funny, I thought I heard that. The output on my DW8000 is having its little shorty problem, and I'm going to have to bring this, open it up. I think if I switch it to a low Z output and turn up that preamp gain on it, let me see. Let me solo that. Oops, can't tell what input it's coming in because I got too many tracks playing. Hold on. So this is a really sort of gentle, soft sound, and I'm actually going to go over to the DW8000 and make sure that the amp envelope is turned all the way up on it, which is go to my parameter mode, voltage controlled amplifier. My levels, oscillator 1, 2, see what they are, 13 and 23. 13 is a value of 31. 23 is a value of 31. So equal mix. 13, how high can I go? Oh, that's maxed out, already on 31. So, don't have any more gain on that sound. Which means I gotta deal with the high Z output. that'll be fixed enough for now. Sorry about the paper crinkling. I'm having an energy bar. Looking at the notes I was playing. Just doing an octave thing. So I definitely want to add a couple notes, more notes in here. So orchestration wise, it's nice, even if an instrument isn't playing continually, to go ahead and add that instrument in so that when it comes in, I mean, it's really just a matter of drama. It's like, do you want that instrument to come in bam on the chorus and have never been heard before, or do you want to kind of ease it in? And I like the consistency of having the part be simpler during the verse, for example, and then get busier or more complex during the chorus. So it's still present in the verse, but it really depends, obviously, on the arrangement. So, but I definitely want, so I'm going to record on my track here, on my push. I will enter record at least on the push. Let's find my track here. There it is. Let's play this scene here. So make sure my metronome is on. It's on, and count off. That's all I wanted. So some of these, I want to make sure that, I like making sure that I've set the groove to most of my sequences so that they're hitting the same. In this particular case, I was using the groove pull, the MPC groove pull. And notice that I kind of forgot to set the groove on some of these. Some of them, like the DW chords, shouldn't matter that much, but I'm just going to select all these that I'm working on right now. Make sure that our groove is set to MPC. So just selecting them all, and I can apply the groove to everybody. That's good. I'll double check this. Beautiful. So that's the ASR post-chorus, keeping my things labeled here. And let's check the verse. I'm not hearing it on the verse section, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on the chorus and the post-chorus. And all right, so I'm just going to listen through the whole thing and then start setting things up to track. And I'm just going to play through the scenes using the push. So intro scene. Oh, let's turn that metronome off because that's really annoying. I like that. Let's start tracking. By the way, I haven't saved this, and as I've noted before, I like to save different days and anything significant that I might have done. So in this particular case, today, I'm going to save this as ABCD1D. So file, save live set as, in the same folder, 1D, and I have a new day, and now it's time to start tracking. So I'm going to be tracking in the arrangement view, so I'll switch over to the arrangement view here, and at this point, when I start tracking, I have to be very actually, before I start tracking, I have to actually build the song out. So, but that's pretty easy at this point in time. So these are all MIDI tracks here, beginning from my boss drum machine, and all of these wonderful scenes here are going to be. I'm going to put all the MIDI information into my arrangement field. Make sure you guys can see this. So one of my favorite things about Ableton Live in terms of working out these song sections is now that I have my intro, I'm going to take this over, and so I've got the whole scene. I'm going to drag it over here. I drag it on there, and everything starts with my boss here, and I'm going to start my whole song at not bar 1, but actually bar 5. I'm going to drop it there. And I'm going to put in my first label here. Make sure that... Oh, right. Actually, hold on. I was slightly wrong. I want to make these... I want to minimize these tracks here. These were reference tracks, and I don't want to see them at the moment. So I'm gonna gray them out. And same with the melody. Don't need any of that at the moment. So I'm gonna color code them gray, differentiate them. And then I'm going to drag these down to the bottom of my list. Rename them. I like to just, if I put a ZZ on them, keep them alphabetically at the bottom of my list, that means they are asleep. To me, they're asleep. All right? And then next thing I'm going to be doing is working with all of these. So beginning with the boss up here at the top. And I think I'll relabel this drums. And now, where's that scene? My intro scene is right here. I'm going to grab my intro scene, drag it over here, drag it in here, start at bar 5. And add a locator up here, and this is going to be called intro A. And The next one is intro B. So grab the whole scene, drag it over, pop it in here. Add locator, intro B. And the next one is verse. Verse 1A. Verse 1B. This is a fun part because you can really start seeing your song come together all of a sudden. Oops, not intro, verse. Verse 1B, which is obviously a very good feeling to see the whole song coming together. And chorus. Add locator. So with this chorus, the chorus itself is 8 bars long. But as you can see, a couple of these are not a full 8 bars. That one doesn't matter because that's all asleep down here. And I can actually grab these as well and just put them to sleep. Mute them. 0 on the keyboard. And these are all 8 bars. We can see the snaps, the bells, of course. Those are great. But the tambourine's only 2 bars. So we're going to Command or Control D. Command on the Mac here that I'm on. Command D, copy that through, and this drum beat, we want to copy that through once because that's only 4 bars. And the chorus, and then we have our post-chorus, which is this one right here. And this is add a locator, post-chorus 1, post 1. The reason why I don't start right at bar 1, in case I want to add something at the beginning or I need to include a little space at the beginning, I just leave the first 4 bars open and start at 5. You can start anywhere. You can start at 3, you can start at 9, whatever. Just leave some space at the beginning. It's usually a wise idea. And now we're going to duplicate this through a couple times because we have our whole section here. So you have the post-chorus, and after that post-chorus, now we can move right back into the verse. And ooh, look, I've got a few of these guys on here in the post-chorus that I definitely want to copy through because the post-chorus apparently is 2 bars long, but I need to duplicate these through a few times. Definitely want to take a listen to that. At least that's what that says up here. We better listen to that. So we need to move to listening to our arrangement view here. So turn off our session view, listen to the arrangement view. I think I want it twice. I'm not sure. Yeah, I definitely want it twice. And I think actually also I want an actual pause in there where so instead of going that's where I want it to stop. 1, 2. So on that last bar, and then so I can go in here and I can just mute some things. So separate that and mute it. Separate and mute. I'll leave the bass on. All the way up to that last one. 1, 2. Notice I'm not deleting the parts in case I want them back. I'm just separating the clip and muting. Need to go in further on this one. I like that. That'll leave me some room for whatever I want to add in there later before the next verse comes in. And now I'm going to take everything that I have right here and from there all the way over to here. Let's make things a little bit smaller here. Sure that we have everybody. I want to do something about that one right there. Maybe? Yeah. Right here, separate, mute. Maybe. All right, well, I think I'll just decide what I want to do about that. Whenever I'm like, I don't know what it's going to sound like, because I don't really have the rest of the track built out yet, and it's not really until I get the rest of the track. It's super important not to get myopic about something that you really can't determine until you have the rest of the parts together. But I know right now that I'm going to go from this, and I am going to select everything here, and I'm going to duplicate that through. So Command D for my entire verse, chorus, post-chorus section. And I believe I'm going to do that twice. Um, there's 3 verses for this song, and then I can decide how I want to end this here. 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. So a couple bars maybe on that final, which was the intro here. And so I'm going to Option drag this section over there. I don't even know about that one there. And in this case, I definitely, at the last one, I don't want these sections muted. I want everybody on for that last part. So I'll just select it, hit 0 on my numeric keypad to unmute. And kind of like the idea of ending with a nice bell chorus. And this note is a G, and I want to end on a G. And so I'm just going to end. Remember, I'm tracking this out. So these are all analog instruments that are playing right now. Nothing has been tracked out. And when I do track it out, I want to make sure that I have a nice final waveform, basically, to end with, that without anything interfering. And to do that, I'm going to just make sure everybody's playing. And that's G. And I want a chord. So I'm just grabbing my clips. I'm holding down Option and dragging them over. Let's see, bells, bass. Snaps was not on the 1, so I don't think I need to worry about the snap sound. So, and I think I will, I'm not sure if I want the bass in there or not, but I think I will put that in, and I definitely want a final kick drum. So And a tambourine on the 1, I think, would be probably a good idea. Post-chorus. And then let's see about a bass note. Copy that down to the Moog. Nice. All right, so that is, I want to put a few more markers in here. So that's verse 1, verse 2. This is chorus 2, add locator. 2, chorus 2, locator 3, and outro, and locator, outro, and last but not least, given this a little bit of time to drag out. Looks like we're good there, and that's my end. And we can look at our timing right down here, see how long this song is. I started at 5 bars in, and but basically it's about 3 minutes, which is beautiful. So that's good for this song. It's mostly a lyric-driven song, I believe. So verse 2. Verse 2, and this is post 2. And verse 3. So intro, verse, chorus, post-chorus, verse, chorus, post-chorus, verse, chorus, outro, and end. I think that I will listen to the whole thing all the way through at this point and decide whether I want a little like instrumental section here. Not so much a bridge as in I'm going to change anything, but an instrumental section. Let me listen through here. I'll switch cameras off the screen for a minute. And we're going to cue this up to the first intro. Press play. I see that. Somebody stole my presentation screen over here. Erwan, stop that. All right. That is great. And at this point, what I want to do is begin tracking. And I would like to note that so even if I decide to change something in the arrangement, if I think the post chorus are long enough right now with 2 bars that I can add a little instrumental synth or something in there. And I had mentioned previously I want to add some strings to the second half of the section of this so that it's not just synth. I want the analog synth driven stuff, but then also want to add some strings. And of course I'm going to be working on the drum programming. Right now it's just a basic beat going through. But now at this point I want to track all the sounds that I've got here. Also my DW8000 is not shorting out at the moment, so it's warmed up and whatever's going on with it, I want to track that. I should probably start with that one first. So now we just go through the assiduous process. There's no shortcut to this. It's just going in here and starting to track things. And the first thing I want to do before I forget is to make sure that my buffer setting is nice and tight. Because right now it's at 128 samples. And I'm going to drop it to 128 is not bad, but I'm going to drop it to 64 and see how it's sounding. The lower the buffer setting, the less I'm going to have to adjust the timing. But at 64 might be too low. I'm going to play through here for a section and see if I'm getting any glitches. And I am. The glitches are just like these little pops that come up as the computer's trying to catch up with the sound coming into the buffer setting. So I'm gonna have to leave that at 128. It seems to be working fine. So I will have to do some adjustments in terms of the timing. But I wasn't hearing any glitches at 128, and so now. I'm going to, you need to be like really organized about how you dump all these guys down. And so I'm going to make all these tracks small. And I'll make sure that those tracks are off. And we are going to need, let's see, we've got the monologue, the Moog, the ESQ1 and 2, and the DW8000 ASR10. So that's, so 6 tracks. So I'm going to need 6 audio tracks. And so right, so there's my T. So just Command T opens up my audio track. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Gonna need to make all these smaller. Not too small, because I want to be able to see the audio waveforms as I drop them in. And now I need to set the input for each of these. And I'll label them first. I'll just keep them in the same order. So the first one is going to be monologue. And I'll make these caps, and so the smaller case will be my some of them doesn't matter because they're all caps. So monologue, the next one is Moog. The next one is ESQ. So one of them was bells and one of them was snaps, right? So that's snaps. ESQ1. Bell. And ESQ1 snaps. 2 snap. And then DW8000, which was a string, analog string sound. I'll just call it DW string. And then the next one, that ASR10, which was ASR, and that was a Korg monopoly that was sampled from 1980, I think, that Korg monopoly. So I'll call it mono PLY monopoly. And now we need to set our inputs for each of these tracks. And the monologue, double check this. So the monologue is audio is coming in from 7. All I need actually right now is my I/O. The rest of the stuff at the moment. So my monologue external input is from 7. And if I set all these to inputs, turning down my master here. If I set these to inputs and I turn these off, I believe I'll be able to just hear that. So the MIDI will come out here, but the audio will come in here. Let me double check that. So recent tambourine off, turn everybody off on here. And then my Moog is coming in channel 8. So Moog external input channel 8. Let me change this so you can actually see what I'm doing. That would be helpful. And there are 2 sounds coming out of the ESQ1, so I'm only going to be able to track one of those sounds at a time. So I will do the bells first and leave the snaps off. So temporarily, I'm going to mute the snaps. So I'll turn those, I'll be turning that track off for a moment. I'll deal with that in a minute. And so the ESQ1 is coming in stereo 5 and 6, ESQ1 bell, external input 5 and 6. Set to input, ESQ1 snaps is not tracking leave that off. The DW strings is going to be coming in one and two. And while we're at it, let's make sure that it's in tune. That's good. And then last but not least, the Korg monopoly, or the ASR10 sample of the Korg monopoly. Set its input, and our instrument is coming in 3 and 4. So that should be everybody. Just to make sure that I'm going to turn the sends off for now, so we don't hear any reverb or any delay. I just want to make sure that the tracks are nice and clean and record it. And let's make sure we've got everybody except for ESQ2 snaps, which I didn't spell right. ESQ2 snaps. And so again, the reason why I can't track the ESQ snaps at the same time I track everybody else is because the snaps and the bell, the ESQ only has stereo outputs, and so it's just playing everything, the snaps and the bell, and I want to keep them separate. So just to make sure that it's separate, I'm muting the entire track. I'm going to turn the track off, and I'm going to turn off the MIDI performance so that the ESQ1 is not getting additional MIDI information on that track. And now I'm going to double check and make sure that everybody is coming in properly. And because I have a second screen, well, let me double. I'll just switch here. You should be able to see all our inputs here. Let's go up the chorus here. So this is not mixed, as opposed to the other ones over here where I had the actual levels mixed. What we're looking at right now on the screen is just the max level of everything coming in, because that's what I want. I want the maximum level of everybody coming in. Everybody looks pretty good. The SR10's maybe a little bit low, so I'm going to raise the preamps on that, and the ESQ1 bell is a little bit low, so I'm going to raise the preamps on that. And what? So that ASR10's 3/4. That looks better on the ASR10. Let's check the ESQ1 bell here on 5 and 6. distorting my output a little bit right now, so I'm just going to turn that down just because of the way I'm tracking everything, make sure that everybody's nice and loud here. So we'll turn that down. Yeah, -7 should do it. And that DW is like getting right up there. I'm going to turn that one down just a hair because it's like right up at -0.5 dB down, which is good, but I don't want to push it quite that much. So it's 1, 2. All right, that's good. I'm going to be able to track everybody now in a single pass, the exception of the ESQ2 snap sound, which I'll come back and grab that in a second. And so now at this point, we are just going to track this, and I'll leave this on the screen so you guys can see the waveforms showing up there. And I'm going to start tracking it. Well, here's another reason, because there's latency and there's things involved. I'm going to start it right like in front, not at bar 5, but in front of bar 5. And I want to make sure that everybody is all my tracks are armed here for recording. So that's the monologue and the Moog. Let's see, hold down command here and get that. The SQ1 bell, yes. The DW strings, yes, and the ASR10, yes. And start this at bar 3, and we'll start recording. So. Here we go. Scoot this down, make sure we're seeing all the waveforms. And I'm also listening to that DW. I'll check it, double check it after I've tracked it, and make sure that it's not shorting. All right. So I just multi-tracked all of that. And the last thing we need to do, so you notice that I have recorded everything from the beginning, even though that there's blank space in here. And that's because I'm going to need to move some of these tracks around. And also because the reason why, even though some of these parts, a lot of these parts obviously are repeated, if there is a part that's shorted out or something, like I said, the DWs are giving me problems. So let's say one chord just kind of, well then I've got a waveform in here. I can just go in and snag it and put it in. So there's a reason to multi-track them all out so that they're all staying in sync with each other. And I'm going to need to move all of this in a second. So, but before I move that, that's the last thing I'm going to do today is move it. Before I move it, what I do need to do is track out. By the way, I should also double check the DW string, but I think the DW string sounded fine. But I'm going to track out the ESQ2 bells, the ESQ1's MIDI channel 2 snaps. But before I do that, I'm going to double check and listen to the DW strings real quickly here. So just... That sounds totally solid. It's got plenty of personality. It's got plenty of little glitchiness in there, little timing things going on. That's great. So now let's get in here and disarm or unarm all our tracks here. This one is going to be my ESQ1 snap. Make sure everybody's off here. And so ESQ1 snap is the track I'm recording on. The inputs are 5 and 6. We'll set this to in here. Back here. So now this time I'm going to do the opposite. So this time I need to mute all of the bells that we're playing here. So I'll mute those. I'll unmute these. No, 2 tracks there. Come here, just 1 track. I'll unmute those. I'll turn the track off and turn this on. We'll double check and make sure that our levels are okay. I can see that my video machines are starting to shut down now that they've run out of time. We're at almost 2 hours. So here we go on this. Let's make sure we've got our time coming in here. Pretty good level. I think I could turn it up a little bit, 5 and 6. That looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and track that. So I'm going to start at the same spot here, but the only thing I'm tracking at this point now is the snaps. Okay, so that's the snaps. I'm going to double check, make sure that I got the recording properly on there. Turn this to auto, turn the recording off. Take a listen here, solo that. Beautiful. You know, I'm pretty sure I heard a little glitch here at the very beginning of chorus 2, which I'm pretty sure was the DW. So I'm going to take a quick listen to that before I forget. Oops. Probably helpful. I just added DW solo. It wasn't. Maybe it was something else. What else could it have been? Maybe it was the SQ. Let's take a listen to that. No, it was okay. That was okay. Let's listen to these guys. guess I was just imagining something here. All right, everything sounds okay. I'm going to check. I was just checking the crosstalk on the channels, make sure that I wasn't hearing anything and everything is nice and quiet. So now the last thing I need to do here, we've got everybody starting at bar 3 here, right at the same time. But I'm going to go in here and look and see what's happening with the actual beats here. The ASR mono is pretty good in terms of like, that was right on the downbeat. You can see that was on the downbeat. The strings, the DW is kind of lagging because it's got a nice slow attack on it. So how far off? So there we are in terms of our perspective in terms of the actual drag time, or the time that it's taken for the MIDI to pick up here. It's a little behind, and I'm going to go in and get all these guys and scoot them up a little bit, and then we'll be done with the tracking. And there goes my GoPro, has decided that it's done with the video. So we'll just do this. So the last thing I want to do, I always do this at the same time I'm tracking, is to go ahead and scoot all these guys up a little bit. And, so I'm going to grab all of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm going to base everything on the ASR 10, which is actually the newest of those instruments, not including the bass lines. The bass lines are dragging too, just because it's MIDI. I'm going to scoot all these guys up a little bit. Doesn't have to be exact, but I want to get them closer to that beat, because the drum machine is not analog since I resampled it, and that's going to be really tight and on the beat. That should be good. I'm going to double check. So I'm kind of in the middle of the song here. I'm going to go over here. This as well. Make sure that I didn't have some weird lag time. It was dragging. That's good because that bass line's right on the beat there. That should be sweet. As a matter of fact, actually, that bass line's a little bit in front of the beat now, which is not what I want. I feel more comfortable about that. Check the beginning of the song here. So I want to give the DR110 kick drum enough of a time right in front of that bass line so that it can live in its own space in terms of that transient right at the beginning of that kick drum. And that looks pretty good there. So, so now I'm going to go to bar 3 here and look at how far in front I've scooted everybody. You see that? Scooted everybody in front of the beat here. And what I'm going to do is, that's actually, I want to make sure that this is kind of basically my starting point for all of these. So right at the beginning of bar 3, I'm just going to go through here, select these guys, and snap the beginning of these clips to bar 3. So that if I ever do have to, something gets nudged out of the way. I wish there was a lock on these. A lot of the other programs, you have a clip lock. These don't have a clip lock. So now I know that they're all starting at bar 3, and that's good. And all my old tracks here, at this point, the tambourine and the drums are virtual, and I'm going to be working on all those. But all of these guys, I am going to mute and turn the tracks off because I'm done with all these. Da, 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 da. And I can scoot these
you know, if I want to, like I said, I like to gray everybody out here. I'm all done with all those, and I can make everybody tiny here. Scoot these down to the bottom of my track list. And there are the tracks that I'm working with now up top here. And we're tracked, and also tracked and in time. But not mixed. And I'll adjust the levels next time, and I will adjust the levels next time, but everybody's tracked, everybody looks good. So next time, change cameras here. So that was a lot of work. Got all that tracked, and I'm going to go ahead and save that, of course. File, save my live set. Boom. And then next time, I will do a quick mix on everybody and work on the drum track some more and get ready to do the rough vocals. The drum track, I'm going to add some fills, add some other synth parts. But at this point now, I can turn off all the analog gear, not have to worry about booting those guys up because I've got everybody here. I just have to turn down those DW strings over here, and you know I've got the mix control right on the push 2, so that's super easy to work with. Doing a quick rough mix right on the mix 2, right on the push 2. A quick rough mix on the push 2. Alrighty, and that does it.